What's up, metal and heavy music fans? It's Flight of Icarus again from metaltrenches.com. As always, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoy it, and hop down in the description. You can find links to our social media, Patreon, and Subscribestar. But right now I'm going to share my opinion on the new album from Boston-based progressive metal, death metal band Wilderun, Veil of Imagination. Now, it's been like 4 years since Wilderun left us with Sleep at the Edge of the Earth, and I can tell that these guys spent every second of that time away just honing their craft. I mean, that last album was impressive in its own right, especially that opening track really blew me away. But Veil of Imagination is on a completely different level in every department imaginable. The production, the composition, the performances, it truly is an absolute wonder to take in. Now, we can scarcely talk about this album without bringing up Opeth. Clearly, their early discography has been a major influence on the writing of this album, and if not, that's one hell of a case of parallel thinking. From the unmistakable Ackerfelty riffs and solos to the transitions from bard-like clean singing and folky acoustic to vicious deep death metal, this is definitely an album for those mourning the bygone days of Still Life and My Arms Your Hearse. I would even go so far as to say that the epic 14-plus minute opener, The Unimaginable Zero Summer, sparks some pretty direct comparisons to classics like The Moor in both structure and dynamics. And whereas the previous album leaned more heavily on folk elements, this is a prog album first and foremost. In addition to the aforementioned Opethian riffs, I'm also hearing the high drama of Ihsahn mixed with a returning healthy dose of said folky atmosphere, and then also some massive, powerful classical orchestration on top of that. Layers upon layers. Combining all of these elements together, Wilderun turned this hour-plus runtime into a true progressive tour de force. It's a magnum opus in every sense of the phrase, with grand and theatrical passages like the two-part Scentless Core, and also When the Fire and the Rose Were One. You really can't help but get wrapped up in the drama. Within sight, and what also helps this be more than just a retread of ground already well covered by Opeth, despite the clear similarities, is that the message of this album feels much more positive and hopeful than the usual dreary misery porn associated with Ackerfelt's classic works. There's a sense of wonder and majesty to offset the darker elements. That said, the concept isn't without its own gloom. As put by vocalist and musician Evan Anderson Berry, lyrically, this album is a bit of an uncomfortable look into my own neuroses. Not so much its manifestations in real life, but more of a third-person perspective on the mechanics of a brain trying to interpret the world through reason and understanding, and usually coming up short. The genuineness of that concept courses through every possible element of the music. But even ignoring that highly intriguing and deeply personal concept, there is just so much to take in on a purely instrumental level. O Resolution is among my favorites, again mixing heavy, headbanging death metal with powerful clean passages. I also really love Far From Where Dreams Unfurl with its truly righteous Ackerfelt soloing and one of my favorite earworm guitar hooks. Dun 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 dun. I could go on and on picking apart all the amazing elements that are happening on this album, but I think I'll just leave it at that. Just know that this is a must-listen release that is a major step forwards for the band and a milestone progressive metal release in general. I give it a 10 for enjoyability, a 10 for musicianship, and a 9 for innovation, averaging out to 9.7 A. Truly one of the most noteworthy albums of the year, so spread the word and make sure that the plebes don't sleep on this one. But that'll do it for this edition of Quick Opinion. Again, if you enjoyed the video, please do hit the like button. If you have not subscribed yet, please do subscribe to the channel. Hop down the description, join our social medias. And if you're a returning watcher and you really appreciate what we're doing here, consider contributing directly through Patreon or Subscribestar. Even just $1 a month makes a huge difference in helping me cover overhead costs and continue to expand on what I'm doing here. And also just stick around because there are plenty more videos on the channel where this came from. There are plenty more other albums I've reviewed. There's the recommendation roundups where I cover several albums in one video. There's the Bands That Changed My Life series where I just sort of wax poetic about bands and albums that have really made a difference to me over the years. And then, of course, there are the long-form podcasts where I get to talk to really interesting bands about their new albums, as well as anything that the conversation goes to, from survival horror video games and Twin Peaks to psychology and counseling. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.